Wait.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Book Review Session. As many of us know, we have a book club and we typically read a book a month, and sometimes the book may span multiple months depending on the volume and the insights from the book. My name is Oluyemi Adeosun, and the book we are reviewing this evening is titled HR on Purpose, Developing Deliberate People Passion. The author of the book is Steve Brown. Tonight, our book reviewer is no other person than Temiso Ojabo, and I'm excited to have her on board. Permit me to say a big thank you to Ezine Obiora, our chief scout and our cheerleader when it comes to the book club, and of course in many other areas of capacity building and personal professional development. Temiso Ojabo is an associate chartered institute of personnel management. She is a strategic HR consultant, culture expert, speaker, entrepreneur, and author shaping the future of work. Ladies and gentlemen, she's a consultant at HR Breakout Room. She drives employee engagement, inclusive cultures, and organizational change through design thinking and human-centered solutions. She's a serial entrepreneur. She founded Isaac Agalio Consulting, Isaac Works Job Board, Zinc Media, and Thames Analytics. When I grow up, I want to be like her. And Thames Analytics focus on talent development and business growth. She holds dual masters. First, a master's degree in international HR management from the Rome Business School. Wait for this. And then another master's degree in media and communication from Pan Atlantic University. She's a founding member of the Society of People Analytics and a co-lead at Learn.in.org. Temiso is a published researcher, global speaker on HR technology, diversity and inclusion, leadership, and organizational culture. Ladies and gentlemen, discussing with us, sharing with us on the book titled HR on Purpose, Developing Deliberate People Passion, authored by Steve Brown. Please, let's welcome Temiso Ojabo. Over to you, my sister.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity. It's a great delight to be here. Thank you, Izini, as well, for the opportunity and the entire HR mentorship leadership. Thank you, thank you. So the book we're reviewing is HR on Purpose by Steve Brown. And I would be reviewing from chapter 10 to chapter 23. So it's going to be a lot of talking. There will be opportunity for us to ask questions, and I will try my best, and Doctor and others can, chime in to respond to questions. So please, I would also I love engagement. So you guys will be answering a lot of questions because I'm not the only one learning. We are learning together. So please join us on this ride. So chapter 10 talks about dealing with the dark side. That's the title. And one of the things I love about this book is the practicality with which Uncle Steve writes. So I call him Uncle Steve because he's like this guru in HR and he wrote the book. So if you hear me say Uncle Steve, please just know I'm talking about Steve Brown. It's the same thing. So he says that HR is brutal, HR is hard, and situations can change. And I know some of us here are HR practitioners and we can attest to the fact that, working with people can be very hard. He talked about how HR leaders like to say things like people first. They talk about the feel-good side of HR, but the reality check is sometimes we deal with toxic leaders, cover-ups, unfair decisions, ethically gray situations within the HR space. And again, if you're a practitioner, you would really understand this book more. I think it's more for HR professionals than just the regular public, or it's also targeted towards organizational leaders that are managing a lot of people, Right. So in this chapter 10, he also speaks about working with people even when it's tough. He explains that unlike policies or processes, people talk back, right? So they can be unpredictable, they can be emotional, and sometimes they can also be draining. He paints a perfect picture of a HR professional. He says he's a blend of a psychologist, at least 60%, a paralegal, 20%, and an administrator, at least 20%, to show you how multidimensional our work is. Shout out to all those people that say that HR, they are wicked. It's not, see, we are psychologists, 60%, paralegal, 20%, and 20% admin. So our profession is not just, it's not black and white. It's not one rule for one book. It changes, right? And I appreciate that he highlighted to that fact that we deal with people's dark sides, we deal with their complaints, we deal with their conflicts, we deal with their burnouts, and we are the first point, right? So he also shares 4 practical ways that we can rise above this darkness, that is the chaos that comes with managing a lot of people. 1, you should remember that people have value. Surround yourself with positive people. As a HR person, as a leader, have an accountability partner, someone that you can check off things, just to help you think through what the decisions you are making and to ensure that you're making the right decisions, and then be the light in the dark. Again, the people we lead can have different perceptions about HR, but it's our duty to be the light. Yes, we enforce policies, rules, regulations, all of the things, legal things and all, but we also there's an opportunity for us to shine the light. I love how this chapter it holds a mirror to HR, basically, because oftentimes we see the darkness in people, we see their struggles, we see their issues, their complaints, their late comments, their poor KPIs. Now, this is me applying this book to real life, right? And sometimes that exhaustion can make us just disconnect and just be like, look, I'm not even going to follow the process. Don't come to me. Don't speak to me. Don't give me stories. I have colleagues in HR who, feel like they are getting emotionally dumped on. So they feel like every morning they come to work, they don't know what they're going to face. If you're in HR, you know what I mean, because people just say all things. So this chapter does remind us that empathy and resilience are strategic skills. It's not joke. When they come, you know how to handle it. Empathy is not emotional luxury. Don't let anybody. Empathy is not just a nice buzzword that we practice in the workplace. It's a strategic skill that all HR professionals should have. He also says that we are also people. So remember that even though we are leading people, we are their HR, we are also people within the organizations. And these policies also influence and impact us too. So he says that he calls for emotional honesty in HR, for us to admit when we are tired, we should seek support and model the humanity that we preach. In today's workplaces, right? Especially post 2020, we all know what happened in 2020. We are managing more of emotional labor than ever before because there's now constant layoffs, fatigue, toxic cultures. Hybrid work is not hybriding anymore. So we can't just pretend that all is well. Being human is no weakness, especially with the advent of AI and all of the things. So the connection here for us is we in HR should, especially those that are in the HR mentorship space, seek support. Don't just be there and just don't be there. Seek support, find a place where you can have accountability, get training on emotional intelligence. You cannot know it all. Refresh yourself, even though you've done emotional intelligence course. I think another thing he highlights here, training helps because situations vary, right? I would like to also share something that was very profound. It's his quote. He said, "We can't lead people through light if we've not made peace with darkness." He also says, "Remember, people are tough, but we are people too. And that's our greatest empathy advantage." So in the comment section, ask yourself and respond in the comments, who helps you process the dark sides of HR? If you don't want to write the person's full name, just write who they are to you. Your friend, you know, all the things. All right. So HR is not a dumping. We're not dumping grounds, but when they dump on us, we have, you know, mechanisms to, you know, go through that. And I'll just segue into chapter 11, where he talks about removing boulders. Steve begins by confronting the uncomfortable truths. And he says, people are negative. If you're an optimistic person and you're an HR, you find that every day you're trying to encourage people and all of those things. So Steve, in his book, he invites us to really audit our HR workload, list out our daily tasks, and mark what falls under positive versus negative. So that based off of the previous chapter, you can now say, okay, where do I need emotional support? So that you don't just throw yourself into the deep end, right? He also speaks about the realization that hits us when we see that the negative part of HR is always like louder, because for most people, we tend to do the heavy lifting first, and then we find that we're already exhausted before we go into the easy work, because they've dumped on us, the things are heavy and we can't even just move on. And then he also introduces a model into his book. You see why I say Uncle Steve is a very sharp guy. He introduces the SLR model, which is step back, look around, and remove boulders. Steve confesses that once we have equated our value with fixing problems, he reveals that the value isn't just broken, right? Removing boulders that block people from thriving should be the goal. So don't just say, oh, they are dumping on me. Rephrase it and say, okay, they dumped on me, yes. I have now helped this person to leave this dark side and remove the boulders for them. And now this employee is now thriving. So that you can now, you know, give yourself a tap on the shoulder and say, come on, I'm doing a good job. And he shares a story of a grumpy manager who rediscovered his humanity when someone cared enough to connect. So he shows us here that it's very important that we should remove every boulder, because that can help us, you know, see the brilliance in each person. And for me, this chapter really hits deep because it exposes something that we don't always share, which is sometimes we are always in problem-solving mode as HR practitioners so long that we forget the progress. So there's that employee that's always coming late, doing all the wrong things. But we have carefully nurtured, coached them, and now they're doing well. Instead of us to say, XYZ, they were failing and now they're doing well, we still say there's 10,000 things that we need to do. So we don't give ourselves enough pat on the back, and which is why sometimes we experience a lot of burnout. So it's important that the boulders in organizations, and so I'm going to tell you what those boulders look like from the book. Bureaucratic policies that kills creativity. We all know them. Leaders who confuse control for culture, right? They say we want culture champions, but when the champions want to do what is good or what they think is beneficial, they say no, they want to control it. Outdated systems that drain people's joy. I've been in a position where someone was working in a place and they told me that the systems are still operating on paper and pen. No offense to paper and pen, but it's 2025. Things are changing so fast. So the person doesn't feel confident to stay in that organization. That is a boulder, right? And it's important that we should try our best to remove those boulders while, you know, confronting the boulders as well, and the leaders and the holders of the boulders, right? And also ensuring that curiosity is encouraged, right? And connection is encouraged. And I'm saying connection, especially HR leaders that are managing remote teams. This can also be another thing. So it's important that we consider human-centered HR approaches. So yeah, tools that we can use here, and of course he does share some of it, is design thinking, mapping out pain points and then applying systems thinking. So again, if you're not in HR and you're listening to this, yes, this is all the things we do. So don't say your HR is a type of way. HR is your friend. Yes, I said it. HR is your friend. Now, for reflection, what boulders within your organization have you accepted as normal? Again, you don't need to. You can, if you don't want them to know that it's you that's anyway, this is Zoom, so nobody just write it. What boulders have you accepted as normal? That you have tried your best, but nobody's seeing it. Nobody's seeing what you're seeing. All right. So you see, this just leads us to that SLR exercise where he says, step back, look around, and find a way to remove one boulder. You might not remove all of it. You might not even have all the buy-in, but try to remove one so that you can also pat your back and say, hey, I did this and this is the result. So chapter 12, it talks about, hey, you are different. I love this chapter a lot because this chapter confronts the dark undercurrent side of negativity that runs through many workplaces, sometimes even in HR departments. Uncle Steve calls us as HR professionals to not just go with the flow. I read this book and I'm like, all things being equal, some of these things can be applied, but it is well. There's this powerful quote, which he said, only dead fish go with the flow. I didn't say it to his Uncle Steve that said it, please. It's not me. I just copied the quotes. Only dead fish go with the flow. Uncle Steve challenges us to break from the comfort of conformity, embrace difference, and intentionally swim among all kinds of people, not just the ones who look, think, and act like us. HR people, don't worry, I'm giving us group hug. There's a group hug I'm hugging, I know. Oh Lord, even for those that are not in HR, they tell you work with this person and you know that they're not like you, they don't think like you. When everybody's going A, they always go Z. Please, they're not that bad. He's saying let's embrace all those who don't think and act like us. Because sometimes the pressure in HR can be like a pressure cooker where complaint is coming, conflicts, compliance, government is hitting you, and we walk into rooms, we are going through different. Sometimes I feel like we have, as HR professionals, we have like 500 tabs open in our brain every day. And Uncle Steve is not condemning us, so he's just reminding us that as HR professionals, right, we can easily just come to the conclusion that people are difficult because it's a lot, right? So he's saying that we should stop labeling, even when we have 500 tabs open in our brains. We should instead try to listen. I know it's a lot because as I'm talking, I know I'm hearing people saying, I should listen to 200 people. How? I know. Again, I said when I was reading this book, I was like, all things being equal, this can be practical in some cases, but in some cases, the hassle of trying to do this is going to be a lot. But we are hopeful that sessions like this will continue to create awareness and people in management can continue to now see the reason why, these changes are important. Uncle Steve also speaks about the permission to be different in HR and, not just saying this person is difficult, but say, help me understand your story, allowing us to humanize HR again. So remember, conformity, he said in his book, will kill innovation, and that diversity is not a compliance checklist. It is supposed to be a leadership strategy. And he admonishes us to be culturally intelligent because that is what is now the business differentiator, as we go. One of the quotes in the book, in this chapter, is conformity kills diversity. I'll say it slowly. Conformity kills diversity. Let's pause and then let's say warmly, we are not dead fish. We are HR on purpose, which means we choose to swim upstream. I know some people did not know that I said they should say it to themselves. Let's say it to ourselves, all HR professionals in the boat with me, say with me, we are not dead fish. We are HR on purpose, which means we can swim upstream. Yay, we are doing something. You see, I told you that this review, you'll be fine. Don't worry. I know. All right. So now we are going to chapter 13. He says this chapter is titled, Don't Let the Cement Dry. Don't let the cement dry. Here, I think one of the beautiful things I loved about this book is how he brought personal family stories into HR, which I didn't really see at first, but as I continued to read this book, I was like, oh, okay, I see how he's relating this. So again, if you have a family, you are a HR practitioner because you're managing different people. So please don't just say you have to have the role on your, at the title on your name. So here he tells us a story about his dad helping him build a half-court basketball space at home. His father's lesson was to him, hard work means getting your hands dirty. Always respect the work people do. And now here's how he links this story with what he's trying to teach us. He uses this story to paint a picture of HR's calling. To never lose sight of the real workers, the people who make the organization function day after day. Yeah, he highlights that. He says somewhere along the way, many HR professionals started looking upward, C-suite, managers, supervisors, entry level, brand ambassadors, all the big cultural people to get executive attention. That's why he says the HR professionals look that way. They try to get approval, access, and then HR professionals have forgotten to look around. Who are those around us? If you know them, please type them in the comments. And he's saying that when we don't look around, but just look only upward, culture begins to dry out. There are people that are around us, e.g., your cleaners. Yeah, yes, shop floor, exactly. Thank you, Stella, for sharing that. Your cleaners. I'm going to say it 7 times. Your cleaners. Imagine they were not cleaning. Your drivers, all of the drivers, from executive drivers. Thank you, Ajoke. Frontline staff, all of the assistants, all of them, the security. Thank you, Stella. Security, chefs. He's saying that when employees say, I'm just a cleaner, I'm just a driver, I'm just an assistant, it means that the culture of the organization has failed them. It means the culture of the organization has failed them. This chapter challenges us to remember that every role deserves dignity. Every person deserves, even that shoemaker, the cobbler in front of your office that has saved people's is very important. Because if they didn't put up shop there, yeah, you know what would have happened. You don't want to know all the stories, but you know what I mean. So he speaks about this is where HR comes to pop. So when we are saying culture, it's not just for the top guys, the big boys, the entry level, it's encompassing, everybody inclusive. That is where HR on purpose becomes real. He says that things like employee value recognition, some of the strategic ways that we can do this, and I know a lot of us already do that, However, we should also consider those that are around us in this employee value recognition, because that then shows that they are inclusive, they are part of us. That's why he says, don't let the cement dry in our culture. Let's keep it pliable, and we can do that through regular listening, visible appreciation, and shared dignity for every role. So, one of his quotes that I love to share: the cement is wet. The cement is still wet in your organization, don't let it dry. Once culture hardens, people stop building. So if you are here and you're having issues with your culture, you now know where you can go and start from. Start from those that are around, those that are the cleaners, the drivers, those guys. Listen to them and see what you can. They will tell you something. They always have something to say. So now we are moving into difference is not disruption. Sorry, chapter 14, I meant to say. Show, do, and review. Here, Uncle Steve talks about simplifying the way HR communicates and HR trains. Here, he's telling us to keep building, showing, doing, and reviewing. It's like a 3-step model. I'm just calling it a 3-step model, right? The core message here is pointing out that 2 things that organizations struggle with: communication and training. I'm very sure if I say raise your hand if your organization struggles with comms and training, everybody here would raise their hand. So yes, he did speak about that. And then he says, no matter the size of the organization, from Fortune 100, Fortune 500, small family businesses, everybody wrestles with comms and training. So breathe. It's not only your organization. I know when I read this, I was like, thank goodness someone is talking about it, because, we're always looking for ways to improve communication, training. So it's a given. And I think that this is why HR mentorship is such a wonderful platform for HR professionals to join. Why? The kinds of books we read sort of opens our eyes to things that, you would not, it sort of gives you that feeling of, okay, it's not just me. Right? You get to see that other people are also facing the challenges you're facing, and then you're sharing ideas, you're asking questions, people are supporting. So if you've not join. Yes, join. Right. So he also says that we should stop blaming technology. He reminds us that technology is not the enemy, but the problem is how often HR hides from it. If we stay away from AI as HR people and digital comms, other people will not. So rather than resisting this change that has come to stay forever, we must position ourselves right in the middle of it while still keeping the human factor at the core. So one thing I tell my team is, even if you are using AI and all of these tools, do a bit of research so that you can prompt better. When you know about the topic better, it's easier for you to prompt from a knowledgeable stance as opposed to just saying, what is KPI review? Do you understand? That's just a shallow way of using. I'm sorry, I'm using the word shallow. That's just a basic way of using AI. So think about positioning ourselves within it. He also highlights the problem of over communication. We have slides, we have manuals, we have policies, we have mandatory trainings. And all of these things, sometimes the people don't read it. Yes, sometimes they don't read it. Especially if it's within a department that they need the person to get on the go, they really don't read it. So he highlights that we make the mistake of volume for value, and that when people don't get it, we do what? We resend the email, we reprint the poster, and we hold another 2 hours training. Uncle Steve says it's not working because it's not sticking. And that's because we are using the wrong model. And he shows us a tested and tried model that he has used. Show, do, review. But he says we are using tell again, get frustrated, and tell again. That line we need to. So what we need to do is show, do, review. So I'm going to break it down so that you'll not be wondering, how am I supposed to show, do, and review? Demonstrate what you expect. So this is where the kinds of the culture you want to see, the level of excellence you want to see, all of the things you want to see, demonstrate it so that they copy, just like the way children copy their parents. That's how the workplace is, which is something very interesting he also shares in this book, where he highlights your children to the people working for you. It's just that these ones, they talk back and they're adults, right? So he says, demonstrate what you expect. Let people see what right looks like. That's why if you have people that are doing the things you like, no, not the things you like, that are modeling the characteristics you want to see, highlight those people so that people can see that, okay, this is what we are looking for. These are the kinds of culture champions that we are looking for, right? Then allow your people. So the do now mean allow your people to practice it immediately, even if they make mistakes. So when you hire somebody, for example, and there's a way you want the work to look like, find someone within that department that's doing that excellent work so that they can see it. Because again, we're not working in all the departments, so we don't know all the things, but we know the high flyers. That's why we need to find high flyers that are teachable, that can teach. And then you tell that person to, learn under them, learn, practice, and practice immediately. And, when they make mistakes, walk them through. There's no need to now start saying, oh, you failed, you did. No, they just joined or they're learning this new process. Walk them through, show them what worked, show them what did not work, and then celebrate improvement. That's way better than tell them again, get frustrated, print the documents, do 2-hour training, send emails, do more posters. He says this show, do, review is fantastic. And he's told us to reduce the PowerPoint slides. I should tell you, he sent me on that errand, so I'm just delivering. He said we should reduce the PowerPoint slides. So I hope we're learning a lot from this session. Another thing he says is when we show, we reduce confusion. People can see, can visualize what it is that we are trying to achieve. When we do it, when we tell them to do what we want to see, they get more confident, right? They are not afraid, especially new hires, for example. They're not feeling like, did I do the right thing? Is this the way it's supposed to be done? You know why they be working like they're working on eggshells? So he says, when we allow them to do practice, that practicing creates ownership. And then when we review with them, again, reviewing sustains improvement, and then it's, shows that, okay, they are learning, and then we can, continue with that. So yeah, thank you again, everybody, for being here. Another quote he shared here, he said, HR doesn't need to tell more. We need to show more. So for the HR professionals that say, I need cultural champions, look at yourself first. Am I a cultural champion of my organization? Can people copy me? Can people say I'm a reflection of this corporate organization's culture? That is something we need to reflect on. Now we are going to chapter 15. We're making progress. He says here, keep it simple. How simplicity rehumanizes HR and restores engagement. Keep it simple, where he says, maybe the reason why this HR feels heavy and tiring for us is because we've buried the human experience under a lot of systems. So he's saying that we should look back at how HR has evolved from personnel to human resource to talent. And now they're saying, some says people and culture, some says people operations. But somewhere in that evolution, we have traded the simplicity for sophistication. We have added a lot of layers, policy manuals, complex recognition programs, multiple steps, processes, endless rules and regulation. covering every possible situation. But I have a question. Please, if you have the answer, drop it in the comment. Where do we now stay? If we don't do the policies, people will do it, move a type of way. Where do you think is the midpoint? If you have any insight, please share it in the comments. He says bluntly, because in this book, please, if you don't want to be collecting bullets of truth, don't bother reading this book, because he comes for the jugular, like blunt. He says, no wonder people leave HR. It's exhausting to keep up a system that has lost its soul. He shares a radical personal step to jump out of the boat of comfort and simplify how HR is practiced. How do you mean? I have heard you, I'm going to answer. He says, he says, start with employee engagement. He explains further to say, in the HR world, right? Engagement is like, I want to increase engagement. You know how they say, we need to increase employee engagement. And then when they say, okay, how do we do it? We now come with toolkits, programs, formulas, frameworks, and all of it. It's like, it just creates this huge engagement and it just goes. And then before you know, it starts to hit a decline. And then we're back again another quarter or the next year trying to hit engagement. He says it's because we are talking about people and not programs. And he gives a simple, almost shocking definition of engagement. He says engagement is connection. The more the employees are connected to their work and to the organization, the more they are engaged. I'll say it slowly. The more the employees are connected to their work and to the organization, the more they are engaged. That's it. It's not about surveys. According to him, or Uncle Steve, you know, I told you, he was very straightforward with his beliefs and conclusions. He says that it's not surveys, it's not the vendors, it's not the softwares. Connection equals engagement. And then he shares his story. He shares that in a company, a 60-year-old family pizza company, it's called a pizzeria. They used to hold a formal banquet for employee recognition. It was an elegant event, well organized, you know, but people were completely disconnected. They wanted that warm, family-oriented culture. He said even the leadership felt that something was wrong. Everything was polished, but it was not personal. So the bosses gave him the freedom to redesign it. You see why earlier, welcome to those that just joined. You see why earlier we spoke about where he said freedom, removing boulders. That is, and I appeal to management. If any management is listening, please allow us to have a bit of wiggle room and redesign some processes that have been age-long, right? So Uncle Steve shares that he was given the freedom to redesign this formal banquets, in quote, but it had to be something that was sustainable and meaningful. So what did he do? Now, if you have a pen and paper, please just take some of these notes. He came up with a gift card employees could use freely, a bag of smiley cookies that matched the brand name. There was a handwritten card from the CEO and the president. And most importantly, Steve personally visited each employee during their shift to celebrate them at their workplace. There was no stage, there was no mic, there was no buffet. It was just presence, cookies, and gratitude. Take a deep breath, everybody. Oh, I know. So he now shares the outcome of this process that he underwent. He says, it worked. The team members now look forward to their cookie moments. Some even cry, some hug. It was a small gesture, but it was real. Even Uncle Steve says that the employees were so engaged and, all the things they needed without having that party, they got. Uncle Steve highlights that employees will never be engaged unless HR is engaged first. We can't preach connection from behind the email. We must model it, show up where the people are. I think this topic just goes out and sees it for itself. And then some quotes I'd like to share is, complexity impresses people, but simplicity transforms them. So if we want to humanize HR, let us start by delayering it, making it more simple, more humanistic, and simple to transform these people that we are leading. And we move to, what about you? Here, Uncle Steve shares about a boy, a 13-year-old boy who was new in town. I was trying to belong. He had no friends, new school. He had a stepdad and a football coach who turned his first day of practice into a nightmare. He says that this story, he used this story to highlight the truth about belonging and development. And for HR leaders, I know we understand what this is. Belonging and development is something that we are always trying to see how we can improve. So he uses this story of this child to simplify. I think I would say that Uncle Steve is a king of simplicity. He likes to deconstruct anything that's ambiguous and make it as simple as possible. He talks about the leader who bruises potential and the one that builds. Two coaches this young boy had in this story: the one that broke him and the one that saw him. The second coach, that is the one that saw him, was the assistant principal. He saw this person in the hallway and he says, let's get you connected with people. That singular act changed the direct trajectory of the boy's life, right? Now, how does this impact us as HR? We are all coaches in some form. Too many systems can make and restrict that connection. So he advised that we should take people who are really struggling and we should make them feel as part of the system. Now, let me just go in to say, he said things like people would dread things like, okay, how I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it. You know how performance review is like Judgment Day, for lack of a better way to put it, right? But Steve reminds us that development shouldn't feel like that. So if it's feeling like that, there's something wrong. We should give people the permission to grow, even when they fail, so that they're not coming to the review feeling like someone hit them with something in the head. Instead, we should build programs, developmental programs, that honor strength over scarcity, honor strengths over weaknesses, and stop being the department of correction and become the movement of connection, so that they know that when they come to HR, right, there's going to be connection that will reinforce learning and bring forth the desired behavior, right? He also talks about, he shares other resources. Please go to the book. You would see all of those things. Get the book, HR on Purpose by Steve Brown. Very important. It's important. He shares some statistics, a lot of statistics that I don't even want to start sharing right now. But from this chapter, I realized that he's not just talking about HR. He's talking about we as humans. We all remember that person that said a kind word that moved us from a low point in our life to a high point in our life. We don't remember a person for good who was mean to us, was always nagging us. No, it's the kind person that nudged us in belief, hoping that we'll be better, right? So that's the quiet power in this Uncle Steve story, right? It's not, he encourages us to remember the leader who called us out in a kind way, and we took the lessons and we became better. So the development processes that we build in our system should not feel like a punch in the stomach, but it should feel like an open door, right? And if we are not consciously developing ourselves, we will become irrelevant. So staying relevant is not about chasing trends alone. It's also about staying teachable. Very, very teachable. And I think one of the things I would like to call us to try to do is do a personal audit as a HR professional. Identify one HR competency that you've ignored over these years, right? And then schedule a way to learn about those things, especially when it has to do with things like emotional intelligence and all of those things, because our teams continue to require those kinds of things, because the space of emotional intelligence is constantly improving and people are constantly, curating new ways. So let's keep learning. And then community also helps to share ideas, brainstorm on ideas, both locally, that's within your geographic location, globally and virtually as well. So again, I encourage you, if you are listening to me, please join the HR mentorship system. It's a fantastic place to learn. Now we move into checkers or chess. By the way, Uncle Steve inspired me to go and learn chess. So right now I'm learning chess. He opens up here with something. He says the sum of your reporting relationships makes up for the framework of your culture. No matter how senior we are, we all have a boss. And for many of us in HR, these relationships have shaped the rhythm of our entire career, sometimes in healthy ways and sometimes in painful ways. So, because this reminds us that culture isn't what we hang on the wall, you know those placards when you enter the company? That's not what culture is. Culture is the quality of relationships. The quality of relationships we have within the organization. And culture is built first by the HR leaders. So we spend so much time. He also says some things here. He said we spend so much time resolving conflicts, doing all those things, and yet we don't define the daily emotional climate of our organization. So he points us into that we should define the climate of our organization emotionally. Do you understand what that means? That means a company that has great policies and still have toxic supervisors, it can have a perfect value on paper and still have a culture of fear because the relationships weren't designed, they were just assumed. I will say that again, please, because this is very important. It says a company can have great policies and still have toxic supervisors. It can have perfect values on paper and still have a culture of fear because relationships weren't designed. They were just assumed. So he reminds us that how people lead and are led determines how they live out the company purpose. This book, especially this chapter, it was very brutal. He says things about a toxic person should be removed, and even if the toxic person is a high flyer, because if we don't remove those kinds of people, they propagate that culture of toxicity and they feel like nobody can do them a thing or take them out. So they continue to perpetuate and undo the hard work that HR is doing to build a seamless culture. So again, please read that book. Very, very, very important. And another thing I'd like to add is he speaks about most workplaces reward checkers behavior. You know, there are people that come into our organizations and they almost know what we want. So they just do it It's like they're just checking the box. They say we should do this, check, I do it, keep it moving. The faster they finish a task, the more efficient they look. But efficiency is not impact. That's another thing he highlights. The busyness is not a strategy. That's why we know those busybodies. They look like they're doing something. They're not doing anything. So he says we need to sift those checkers, those that continue to check. And how can we do that? We need to stop getting them to say, what have they finished? Because when they know that it's about finishing a task, we need to ask them, what can I influence long term, as opposed to just finishing a task? Now, he's not just saying that we should not say they should finish their task. That's not what he's saying. But we should also look at influence. He says that in chess, you have to take risks to move forward. That's the essence of a courageous HR. Moving even when the outcome isn't certain. So, practical applications, he says we should redesign one-on-ones, make them a two-way, not our people coming to just listen to us. Ask our managers, what do they need from us? Not just, hearing what they need. Not just them hearing what they need to do, but allowing them to ask us what they need. Especially our managers, the managers within our organizations, the supervisors. And as they tell us what, as they tell us, we should also tell them what we need. It is not a one-way, someone's just talking, and then you ask them, they don't say anything. No, we should get them to speak as well. He also says that we should see the board. We should map up our stakeholders, who's influencing culture behind the scenes, what departments play checkers, and how do we think we can make them think like chess players. Checkers is about competition. Chess is about connection. Again, he's a real driver for connection. So I just want to say that there's a lot of gem in this book, and he also encourages us to be cultural architects as opposed to just compliance, making sure that everybody's complying to all the checklists. He admonishes us to make sure that we are, far away from that. And then we move into passion is not a dirty word. That's chapter 18. Here, Uncle Steve paints a picture, a beautiful story. He said he tells us to picture a story. In the morning, we are commuting to work. We are following the same routes, the same songs. We are going to the same destination. We arrive at work. You can't even remember how you got there because, again, it's something we do every day. We don't need to put any muscle to thinking about it, right? And then he says, that's not just a drive, right? That's a diagnosis. In this picture of what happens when we go to work, it has become mechanical. Just like when you wake up, you have to brush your teeth and get dressed and shower and get dressed for work. It's already a mechanical process. You don't need to put any thoughts to it. He says that that's the picture that happens when work becomes mechanical. When passion leaks, he said, when passion quietly leaks out of our routines and is just clockwork. Ajoke, please, you are unmuted. Please mute your mic. Thank you. Okay, sorry. He says, the modern workplace has become an infinite treadmill. It's predictable, it's repetitive, and it is passionless. He says that if we are honest, many of us in HR have also joined the flow of just managing compliance, solving conflicts, surviving meetings, but rarely feeling alive in our own passion. Some of the insights I got here is we beat the child out of the employees. The tragic thing is when children grow up, they become, in quotes, our employees, and we beat the child out of them to make them workers. Think for a second. When we're children, we're curious, we're fearless, we're imaginative, we're full of wonder. But along the line, as we were growing up, between performance reviews, between your results from different schools you went to, people that didn't understand your style of learning, they didn't understand the kind of person you were, they promoted you, they told you to repeat a class, all the things. The light of our passion started to go dim. We started calling curiosity immaturity. We replaced play with pressure. All the adults on the call, we replaced play with pressure. And we began to manage behavior instead of energy. He said, Uncle Steve said, and I quote, he said, that's just a cultural issue. He said, that's not just a cultural issue, it's a HR crisis. He shares a lot of statistics and he says, passion is the return on investment. He says passion is what translates into retention. It drives creativity. It sustains leaders through crisis. And it's not an optional energy source. Instead, it's a strategic capital. So he encourages us to not use too many policies to kill off the passion, where everything now becomes so routine and mechanical that people are just like, let's just do it. What do you want us to do? We just do and keep it moving. Nobody wants to engage. Nobody wants to have any kind of, conversation. So yeah, he calls off a lot of uncomfortable truths. He says that we've become we've become a profession. That's HR now, please note. He says we've become a profession afraid of passion. We fear it looks unprofessional. Then we sanitize enthusiasm into process and package joy into policy. I told you that he came for the jugular. He also writes, and I quote, we see passion as something that leads to a possible harassment claim. And then we have now made our workplaces so sterile that emotional energy feels like a liability. I know. Yeah. So some of the things that, some takeaways that we can try to, reignite passion within our organization. We need to model what joy looks like publicly. Let's not hide our emotions, our energy. Let our curiosity, laughter, and warmth be visible in the workplace. And again, I know there are people that when you start to, show those kinds of, joy and model joy, they sort of take advantage of it. But I guess for the greater good, right, we have to just do what we need to do. He also spoke about designing human moments, that is, create a room for play, create a room for play, gratitude, and real connection in our HR programs. He speaks to reframe compliance from rules enforcement to value protection. And then he says we should fuel ourselves as HR professionals. What that means is spend time with people who still have light in their eyes. We should read, we should rest, we should travel, and we should mentor. I'll say that again slowly. We should fuel ourselves. We should spend time with people who have light in their eyes. And light here will be passion. We should read like this book. Rest. Please rest. Staycations. In case some people don't know what rest is. Staycations. Leave your area of comfort where you are familiar with. Go to you can take a hotel. Travel to another state, because don't think that I say you should travel abroad. You can travel to another state within your country. Mentor. You can't pour passion from exhaustion. Passion is not a dirty word. It's an essential. If the fire in HR goes out, the organization becomes cold. If the fire in HR goes out, the organization becomes cold. I think every HR department should sit with this book and really, really break it down. Yeah, that's what I would advice. And then chapter 19 talks about being full. Here, Uncle Steve talks about people are exhausting. That's how I wrote it in my notes. I said, let's be honest, people are exhausted because there was no other way to say it. We don't just say it out loud because we are in HR, right? We're supposed to have, people expect that all HR people should have infinite empathy. We should have a very long line of patience. And our energy should be 1000% from the beginning of the year to year end. But the truth people forget, and this is to all those that are not HR that are listening to me, the truth is we also get tired. And when we do, it's not that we are weak or we don't know what to do. It's not. We also get tired. We get tired as HR professionals. We get frustrated. We also don't like some of the policies, in case you don't know. So for those that think that HR is some type of way, remember we are human also. And I'm slowing down here because I said it and I felt like this huge relief. We are humans. And it's not easy for us, but we do our best. Uncle Steve says that we are expected as HR professionals, and I think this chapter helps non-HR professionals to have empathy for HR professionals, because I feel like there's zero empathy. If you go to any, exactly, is in a let HR breathe. If you go to every organization, they'll tell you, HR is mean, HR is wicked, HR do this, HR do that, HR does. Every day HR is doing something that is bad. Have you ever sat down to think about HR? Put yourself in HR's shoes. When they dish the feedback and the feedback hits HR, have you ever thought about how HR feels? Because Uncle Steve says in this chapter that we are expected to wear a mask that says we can handle anyone for any reason, to any extent, like we're superheroes. And yet, we can't. Think about this. When people ask you, how are you? What's the most common answer you've ever heard a HR person say? Please type it in the chat. Exactly, we're people's children too. Nobody's chat. Okay, fine. Okay, great. I'm fine. Thank you. I'm fine. Sometimes I say I'm busy. Yes, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. So it is well. Good. We've made, he highlights here that, again, this, thank you. All the comments are coming in. This part, it was just like, I think this part was also titled as The Busy Trap. And he also calls us out here. He also calls us out in this chapter, which was very interesting. He says things like, we've made busyness a badge of honor, but busy is not the same as productive. And it's definitely not the same as fulfilled. Uncle Steve says that when he hears busy, he hears a negative tone, and it implies obligation, exhaustion, and a silent competition. No one could possibly be busier than him. Business has become the modern language of fatigue. It's performance burnout disguised as importance. So he says that he did something radical. He changed his response. So all of us, with all the comments, all the comments, thank you so much for sharing your comments. Uncle Steve has given us a new lingo. He says, now, when people ask him, how are you? He says, I'm full. I'm full. People are laughing in the comments. Not fine, not busy, I'm full. Full of purpose, full of moments that stretch him, full of gratitude, and full of imperfection. So let's all say it together. We'll say, how are you? I'm full. What are you full of? Full of purpose, full of moments that stretch you, full of gratitude, and full of imperfection. He shares here that he fills his life with things that are positive, challenging, and interesting. And there are things that he wants to change, but they don't have to pull him down. He says that this mental shift from busy to full is more than semantics, but it's a mindset reset. So our response now as HR practitioners, when we say I'm full, it's a mindset reset. When we say that we are full, we are taking ownership of our energy. We are reminding ourselves that our days are not something that happens to us, that they are something that we as HR professionals are filling up intentionally. So all my fellow I'm full respondents, please type in the comment, I'm full. We are taking ownership of our energy. We are reminding ourselves that the days are not something that happens to us, but something that we feel intentionally. So let's continue to audit our energy, redefine success, that mindset resets. Let's create a space where, overload of work can be offloaded, let's model fullness as HR leaders. Let's show up energized. Let's rest well. After this webinar, please shut your phone off. Just go and sleep, because our energy is contagious, good or bad. And let's also feel others as well. And then chapter 20, life versus function. Here, Uncle Steve calls us out. He says, executives. Let's go. This is going to be, okay. Please, everybody, let's just take a deep breath in, because I'm about to, I told you this book is full with plenty blunt truths, right? So everybody take deep breaths in and out. The core idea of this chapter is, Uncle Steve says that most HR people are operating but not living. We are functional, we know the laws, we handle issues, we check the boxes, but very few are truly alive in HR. Take a deep breath in again and take it out. Uncle Steve shares truthfully, he says, executives expect HR professionals to know their field. Why would people say this useless? Uncle Steve shares that executives expect HR professionals to know their field. So we hear comments like this, I don't want to use the words, how they tag HR people, that they are inexperienced, they are under-equipped, they don't know what they are doing. They say those derogatory words that you even hear. Maybe you accidentally walk into the office bathroom and you hear them talking about you, but they don't know that those lines hurt. Uncle Steve says many of us HR professionals are stretched thin because we are wearing every hat. We are the generalist, we are the counselor, we are the watchdog, we are the strategist, we are the fire extinguisher. In the Nigerian context, some of us are even counselors, therapists. Sometimes we even engage in some form of prayer partners. Financial supporters, I dare say, for some. We need a group hug at this point, because I can just feel, we all HR, let's just hug ourselves, please. Wherever you are, just give yourself a big hug. We spread ourselves so thin because we have become surface level experts in everything. Because any little say, ask HR, ask HR, ask HR. HR knows it. HR. Uncle Steve is saying that we should leave that jack of all trades and come to intentional mastery. We should stop hiding behind, I'll get back to you, and start showing up with assurance and knowledge and learn to say, no, I dare add. Some things that we don't have bandwidth, just look the person in the eye and say, I'm sorry, I don't have the bandwidth for this. Maybe you can try another day. I'm full. Thank you, Loladi. Thank you. And he says that one of the things that can help us to start showing up in that intentionality, that intentional mastery, instead of that jack of all trade, we know everything, go to HR, we are right. Let us become more intentional. And how can we do those? Let us read more. Let's read everything. He also encourages us to read business, fiction, biographies. Let's not say we are too busy. Join HR mentorship. We read books. For the business side, you'll be sorted. The HR books, you'll be sorted. Don't say we are too busy. Busyness is an excuse. Fullness is a choice. Because reading sharpens our mind, our mental age, and widens our empathy. Let us be visible as well. And he encourages us to be active on social media. So if you're a HR professional here, you are not active on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, you are not doing something right. I encourage you today. I know it's a lot to add to your plate, but you can do it. Uncle Steve is advising us here. Or X, exactly. Thank you, Z. Participate where HR thinkers exchange ideas. And if you're in our community as well on HR mentorship, don't be a silent member. There's something you have to say. Respond. Visibility is continuous learning. Let's be alive. That's one of the things I've seen in this chapter. He's saying that, look, we know we are many things to many people. Let's streamline all of those things and be alive. Because we have someone's children too, like someone said in the comment section. We are also somebody's child. We are living and breathing professionals. So please, today, all of us on this call, let us try our best to continuously learn, be visible on social media. Let's share insights. Let's be more credible. Let's learn how to say no, right? Let's reduce some of the workload. I know it's almost impossible to say, don't do this, don't do that, but you get the point, right? HR, we need to be emotionally intelligent. We need to continue to stay human-centered in our designs, and we need authentic connections, right? Again, build community and all of the things. And then chapter 21 is safe haven. Here, he says that safe haven, HR exists to be a safe haven, not a judge's bench. We should try to ensure that our HR departments or HR leadership is a safe haven, because people are not cases, complaints, or records. They are stories waiting to be seen. Uncle Steve's here says that the exhaustion of managing people's messiness, politics, and unpredictability is something that professionals in HR silently endure. And he says that because people are complicated, it is why we are here as HR professionals. And then he dismantles the myth that says, he dismantles the myth that employees should live their personal lives at home. I saw a YouTube podcast, something where the woman said, leave yourself at home. There was something she was saying, but he dismantles that here. He says, do you know who brings their personal situations to work? Everybody does. Because if their child is sick, their car is bad. In Lagos, Nigeria, the floods, we have all been seeing the news. Do you think somebody will not bring if their car is in the mechanic and the mechanic has billed them 1 million naira to change the engine, You think the person will not bring that situation to work? They'll bring it. People are humans. People are not robots. So he says that the human being walks into work, not a machine. HR job isn't to filter that humanity out, but to hold it safely. Hold it safely, nurture it kindly, and resonate with it deeply. In this chapter, he tells a very funny story about this guy. His name is Tom. And Tom used to use the F word in the office, and he would say it loud when he greets Uncle Steve. Instead of Uncle Steve to say, don't you know the policy of this organization says that you should not use the F word, you should not do this, you should not do that? Uncle Steve responded with consistency, curiosity, and humanity. One day after work, Uncle Steve goes and asks that Tom that uses the F word in the office. He says, what's your life outside work? And Tom shared that he bowls, he does bowling. And that's how they started the conversation. And by listening to Tom's story, Uncle Steve turned that hostile employee into a friend and an ally, and then a workplace champion. I think the next time Uncle Steve had a conversation with the guy, he brought all his awards, all these things, and they got talking, and everybody in the office was surprised. So what did Uncle Steve do that was different? He became the safe haven for his organization. The one who sees the unseen, that mean person in your office that is so, can you try to get to know that person? Listen before judging. Turn that defensiveness into a dialogue. When HR becomes safe, culture heals. Let's ask ourselves today, do the people in our workplace breathe easier when we walk into the office? Don't need to write it in the comment section, just write it for yourself. Do the people in your workplace breathe easier when you walk into the office? And chapter 22 says, have a tribe. Because HR can feel lonely, and that's why we're inviting you to join the HR mentorship group. It's a solid system, solid tribe, where you can gain comfort, you can cry when it's hard, because we know it's hard, and we all understand. And we can help you see perspectives and different ideas. Have a tribe. It's not a luxury to have a tribe. Have a tribe. Show up for your tribe. Show up for your tribe. The power of a tribe cannot be overemphasized. Join communities, start small. If you join, you are feeling overwhelmed, don't worry, baby steps. Reply one comment today, tomorrow reply. Before you know it, you are becoming more human. Give more than you take. Connection thrives with contribution. Don't just go to a community, for example, and you just say, I'm there, I just want to get a job. All you are looking is to get. What is your contribution to that community that you have joined? And then finally, the work of networking. Networking is not a side gig. It's a real work of being human in HR. It is not about collecting business cards, chasing followers, pitching your business, your consulting service, all the things you do, how you have 50 years in HR and you want to join so that they will know you, they will now give you a job. No. People remember how you make them feel far more than what you hand them. So slow down, look up from your screen, say hello to people, ask questions, get to know people within the community, engage people that make comments and nobody respond to them. Make them feel seen, because the leaders of HR mentorship cannot answer everybody's question. So go ahead today and let's make HR human again, and let's do this on purpose. Thank you so much. And I'm ready if you have any questions, concerns. If Doctor has anything you'd like to chime in, we are ready. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening.
Dr. Yemi, are you there? Is Dr. Yemi there? But wow, this was amazing. Temiso, I mean, gosh, you took us to school and back. In fact, we are not back from school. We are still in school. Though. Like, what? You were just dropping gems like you are. Your Uncle Steve, well, Auntie Temisa and Uncle Steve, joined together. Thank you so much. Thank you. Amazing. I guess, we're almost, getting to the end of time, but I see that there's hands. So maybe you want to, answer questions.
Okay,
a few questions.
yes, go ahead. Stella, please go ahead.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Temi-san. It might not be a question, but just to say thank you. I appreciated this. You made my evening. If I was looking forward to be under a tree with the moonlight, listening to you, all about nature. I'm just smiling and laughing. Thank you for making my evening. God bless you. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Stella. I deeply appreciate your feedback. Thank you. Anybody have any questions, comments? You might not even have a question. You just want to say something you learned from the book, you think you want to share. Please.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Tenisa. You have done wonderfully well. You have done justice to this book. Personally, you got me spellbound, and every quote that you were, making from the book, I could really resonate with. And beyond that, I love the energy level, the choice of words you use, your way of taking breaks from your sentences, how you put some short seconds to it. It's a perfect communication skill you have. Super wonderful. Beyond doing justice to the book, you also did justice to us by keeping us spellbound and captivated to it. So coincidentally, we got a new talent development manager at my place of work, and then she suggested that we should do a book review of this same book, right? Initially, I was of the opinion that I am usually full, all through, so I may not really have time to examine and pay more attention to it. But then after you have walked me through and driven me through all the loads that you have in this book, I'm definitely having a change of mindset, and I'm really going to participate fully in this. And I also employ every one of us to actually, have a refueling from this book, right? Because that's what I get from it, that it sort of refuels you. Even when you think that you know all this, sometimes you need someone to tell you what you know over again, to come to your consciousness and awaken that consciousness part of you. And then, so we can all be the real HR on purpose. All right. Thank you so much, Temisa.
Thank you so much for your feedback. It's been my joy to be here, and I'm so glad I inspired you to read the book. It would really help your department and your team. Honestly, the nuggets are so much. I had so many things to say, but little time. So grateful that you guys are reading that book. Such a good read. Any other comments? We're about to round off.
There are no other hands up. I think people have just been okay. Lolade, your hand is up. Lolade, please.
Lolade's hand is up.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think the last speaker actually captured the way you took the book. I think at the point I slept off, but I now remember that in my sleep I was listening to a very nice Tales by Moonlight that I wanted to catch up on. I just saw myself come back. It was, really, really captivating, and you, like I said, you brought life to the book. And for me, funny enough, I felt bad because I've actually had this book for like 5 years. I read it halfway somewhere, and I think I was full. I put it somewhere, so I had to go back. But I now a lot of all of the things that comes to mind for me is looking at some of those things and trying to bring it to our world here. And I try to like, is it really how best can we really do
Is this from me? What's happening?
Okay, I think we
I think
lost
her
Madam Eden.
network.
Yeah,
her
I think,
network.
yeah, because I thought, so we lost her.
So, Opeyemi, your hand is up. You can
this
speak
and not
on
send
what
out
you
the wrong signals?
Back, she's back.
Especially there were some very, very important nuggets brought up for me. That some of it I've pointed out, and when you say you're exhausted, it's looking like you're HR boy, you are in everything and master of nothing at the end of the day, and you're drained. So how best, I know that some of the things you've said, but how real can we put, or how best can we put to use some of those things that Uncle Steve actually advised? Thank you.
Okay, so again, I go back to that point where he says that again, we need to rest. It's a lot, but we need to be able to rest, unplug. When you're going on leave, for example, don't go on leave with your work laptop. Open your phone, tell them to be able to reach you when they need help. You're not going on leave, you're just walking away from your office. So me, when I'm going on leave, let me tell you what I used to do. I say you can't reach me, and I mean it. I don't have my phone near me. That's the only way you can truly unplug and rest to be able to now give back. I hope that was the question you asked. And I hope I Okay, Okoyemi, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Madam Temisan. I had an interesting and amazing time. I didn't sleep. I came back from work full, let me use that word, because it was a lot. Monday can be a lot for HR practitioners, and the book is highly relatable. The message you had was so, so, so deep. Today, it felt like I was in a support group, because sometimes you just need a community to just tell you you're doing well, you're not doing badly. It's not just you. Sometimes you just say, is it you? Or is it the job? Or is it the environment? You just want to blame everybody. But listening to you, reading the book, I just realized that this HR journey is really, really full. And honestly speaking, thank you so much. I enjoyed listening to you. Honestly, it felt like Tales by Moonlight because I was like, wow, this is another. I've been attending book reviews, but I've never attended anyone that was so smooth, so enjoyable. So, thumbs up to you, madam. I think you did an extremely great job. Thank you.
Thank you so, so much. Thank you so much. Mizi, more hands are coming up. Loretta?
Yeah, but I think that we can just take one more so that we can round up. There's work
Okay.
tomorrow for people. So,
Yeah. Yes. So Loretta will be our last. Oh, Loretta, you can go, Loretta.
Oh, okay. I wanted to step down for Kweyemi. I was thinking she was up before I did, but it's fine. Thank you so much for the session. It was it's totally different from how I've been having book reviews, and I must commend you sincerely. Like, I want to do this again. Like, I'm preparing to make sure I'm involved all the way. So thank you so much. So for me, I practically something when I was going through it, I was just saying, this Steve, this man I've seen a lot too, when he gives some reviews and the rest of them. So I was just like, so then also I asked myself this question. I said, have I actually been in people's life or in my employee's life, or I was just doing my HR work? What have I been? So it gave me time to like pause, think, and have a balance. What have I really been doing? So sincerely, thank you for tonight, and I look forward to more time having book review with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And with that, I just want to give my vote of thanks to thank the entire team. Deeply, deeply grateful on behalf of all of us in the HR mentorship community. We want to thank our incredible host, Dr. Oluyemi Adeosun, Prof. Sir, for creating a space like this that can help us as professionals, be inspired and evolve and grow. Our big appreciation also goes to Uncle Steve Brown, whose book on HR purpose continues to remind us that HR is more than a role, right? That it is a mission that we have to lead with our hearts, purpose, and with passion. And to everyone who made time to listen, to be here, it's past 9 and you are here. I appreciate you. Thank you. To every professional here, thank you for showing up, engaging. It means a lot to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And until I come your way another time, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Temisa. I mean, the comments say it all. You can see that you kept everyone engaged. I especially like the comments, where someone said it felt like, you kept on giving the group hugs. It felt like a community. It felt like it was like a fireside talk. People were just there listening, as you were talking by the fireside. And the person that said they fell asleep, I could relate because it was soothing. It was a soothing review. You were listening, and then because it's almost like you're releasing some toxins out of you as we're listening to you. So thank you so much. And I know me and you, we've been at this thing for a while, so you're going to come back. My own job is to pull everybody out. So you will come back because you can see, people are already asking for more. So thank you so much for doing justice. 13 chapters. Because I was like, remember when I told you, I was like, can you carry this? You carry the 13 chapters. You carry the 13 chapters gracefully, and you because I was looking at the time, I was like, is she going to be done? And you did it so well. So thank you. We really appreciate you from the bottom of our heart. Thank you for sharing the knowledge with us. We really do appreciate you. And thank you to everyone that joined. Yeah, like Temisa said, you should not be too busy to read. I mean, we're all here. Thank you guys for joining. There's so many of us in the book club, but there's some of us that are consistent and keep on joining. You're not doing this for nothing. You're doing this for yourself. So thank you so much. So without much ado, I mean, I want to say thank you to Doctor. Doctor is here, but he's not here. So I'm doing this on behalf of him. So I sign out on behalf of him. But thank you to you guys. Have a wonderful night. An amazing part
All right,
of
before you
rest.
sign out,
Okay.
I think before you sign out, we should just let people on mute and then
Oh, yes,
show
that's true.
appreciation in the
Oh,
usual way.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I mean,
Everyone
people had
can
already
please unmute
started.
and show your
But
appreciation
please
to
unmute
Temisa.
and so show your appreciation to Temisa one way or the other. Say it out, do your balloons, clap for her, but please express your appreciation to her. So please unmute.
Thank you. Thank you, Temisa.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Ma. Thank you. We love you.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Come back
Temisa.
again.
Come back again.
Thank you and good night, everyone. Thank you so much, Temisa. Thank you. Thank you.